Zayin. ויחי יעקב בארץ מצרים 17 שנה. Yaakov lived in Eretz Mitzrayim 17 years. And then he says the total of his life, and it was the days of Yaakov, the years of his life, 7 years and 40 and 100 years. So the Rebbe has a few questions here on this pasuk. It's sort of long when you understand the Shema. Why did the pasuk even need to enumerate the number of years that Yaakov lived in the land of Mitzrayim? If you want to know the number of years, you can calculate it easily. It already says prior to this that when Yaakov arrived in Mitzrayim in last week's parsha, and it says over there that he was then 130 years old. Like we have at the beginning of this parsha, it says that he lived 147 years. So therefore, you make a simple mathematical calculation. You subtract 130 from 147. It's self-understood that he lived in Mitzrayim for 17 years. So therefore, why is the pasuk, as we know, Torah Shebiksav is very exact in all of its wording, and everything is chosen and so on. Why does it need to tell us something that we could figure out on our own? Also, we need to understand why Bechlal point out and make a distinction that we must know how many years he lived in Mitzrayim, as opposed to all the other years of his life. It doesn't say by the other others that at the end of their lives it says, Sarah lived X amount of years in Hebron before she passed away. I mean, or in Eretz Yisrael before she passed away. It doesn't say the number of years that a person lived in every location where they lived. Why over here does a Torah have to point it out? So that itself teaches us a message. By the Torah pointing out that he had 17 years in Mitzrayim, it meant to tell us a message about these 17 years. Moving for this understood, that these years were the choicest years of his life, the best years of his life was when he lived in Mitzrayim. And here comes the question, the very well-known question, the Lechura, seemingly, Eichi, talking to Yaakov Avinu Bechira Avis, how is it possible that Yaakov Avinu, the most chosen of the forefathers, should be the choicest years of his life, the 17 years they lived in the land of Mitzrayim? It's the most immoral place in the entire world. Like the Tzemach Tzedek asked his grandfather, the Alter Rebbe, how could it be that the best years of his life he lived in Mitzrayim, like the story is brought down, etc. Gamtzar will have a third question that Rebbe asks, putting aside now the 17 years, going now to the totality of his life, how does it enumerate the totality of his life? So it says 7 years and 40 and 100 years. Twice the word Shana, which sounds like by Sarah it says, 3 times Sarah, but by Yaakov it says twice Shana. So there's 2 divisions over here, not a 3-way division. One is the 7 years, one is the 40 and 100 years. So one question is, Lama hivdil mispram muteshavashanim mispram rubadar shana. Why Bechlal separate them? Why does he make twice the word Shana and says 7 years and 40 and 100 years? Why separate them? Why not say it all together? He could have just said 7, 40, and 100 years. Also, why does he begin with the lower number before the higher number? Not like in the number of the years of the life of Avram, that over there it says just the opposite. It says Mi'as Shana, 100 years, V'shivim Shana, 70 years, V'chamish Shana, 5 years, V'chem B'yitzchak, and also by Yitzchak it says Ma'az shana shmeinim shana, 100 years and 80 years. Shemakdim es mispram rubel mispram mot, that he first says the greater number, the higher number, and then he says the lower number. So why Yaakov Avinu does he begin with the lower number of 7 and then go to the higher number of 40 and 100? Top of the second page of the Maimer, page Vav, Ois Beis. The idea behind this is the Yaakov who Yud Okev. It's a combination of two concepts, the letter Yud and Okev, which means a heel. Hayud koyal neshama kvishila ma'ila b'chinas tahiri. The Yud is referencing and corresponding to the level of neshama, the way it's above the level of the way it's pure, like we say every morning in Birchas HaShachar, neshama shenasata b'toirei. It's pure. That's the way. Dainu b'olam Atzilus. In the world of Atzilus, it's still pure. It hasn't yet been created. Ata baros at yitzata nefachta. That's afterwards in the worlds of Bri Yitzir Asiyah. In Atzilus itself, we know the letter Yud has to do with the sphere of Chachma, as we have in Igeres HaTshuva and Tanya and other places. The Yud is a point, just like Chachma is a point. Shinyon, the B'spheres u'spheres HaChachma. What does that correspond? The level of Yud, and that's the level of the sphere of Chachma. Ois Yud Shem Havaya, the letter Yud of Yud Kei Vav Kei. V'Okev Shu Sofer Regel, the heel, which is not just the foot, but it's the end of the foot, the lowest part of the foot. This indicates the descent of the neshama from the level of tahorihi, from the level of Yud, till the lowest, most level, to the level of the heel. This means shetchila yiridas haneshama ba'ilum ha'atzilus gufam misfiras ha'chachma l'sfiras ha'malchus shenikra Okev. Initially, it's the descent of the neshama in the world of Atzilus itself, from the sphere of Chachma to the sphere of Malchus, that the sphere of Malchus is also known as a leg and a heel. And then, afterwards, it descends also to the worlds of Biyah. That's also, we say in L'Elkai Neshama, after saying Tahiri Shezeu Inyan, Barasi Yitzarta Unafachta, you created her, you formed her, and you blew her into me. Where did they blow her into me? In this world, in the world of Asiyah. That again, just like the world of Atzilus corresponds to Chachma, which is the level of Yud, the same thing the rest, Barasi Yitzarta Nafachta, which is the worlds of Bri Yitzir Asiyah, are also corresponding to the other three letters of Yud Kei Vav Kei Shal Yod Hashem Keneged Gimel Ha'oisius Hey Vav Hey. Those correspond to the three letters of the Hey Vav Hey, the Shem Havai of Yud Kei Vav Kei. Shal Yod Hu Inyan Ha'isavus. Through Shem Havaya, it comes about the Hisavus. That's the meaning of Yud Kei Vav Kei from the word Hisavus. Kiyadua. Sheklolos inyan ha'isavus v'klolos in ha'ishtalshlos why they doubt oisius shem havaya, that the general idea of the coming into being of the worlds and the general idea of chain order of descent is through the four letters of Yud Kei Vav Kei, because Yud Kei Vav Kei indicate the way any developmental system develops. She'inyanam hu tzimtzum v'yispashtus, the Yud is a tzimtzum, a constriction, the Hey is an expansion. Then there has to be a next step of Vav Kei, Hamshacha, just like a Vav is Hamshacha, going from below to above to below. And then afterwards, is Pashtus of the Hey. We'll stop over here.